Sad. We've never been here before. Be a movie star. There are 30,000 new scripts in Hollywood every year. Not one of them asks for a country bumpkin black dude that can't talk good over KB and look like Mr. Potato. Ever been at the point where neither option is good for us in real life?
No.
This is a different conversation. This is, would you rather go back with your ex or would you...
When Katt Williams opened his mouth and hinted that Shannon Sharpe's influence runs way deeper than televised debates and viral clips, the entire internet nearly fainted. His tone wasn't casual. It sounded like somebody who just cracked into a vault and peeked at something the public was never meant to see. Suddenly, this wasn't just a comedian talking about a sports analyst. It felt like a whistleblower dropping coded clues about a man whose power stretches far beyond microphones, podcasts, or football commentary. Fans didn't blink. They froze. And social media snapped in half like a folding chair during a WWE stunt. Rumors started flying faster than receipts on tax morning. People claimed Katt was exposing the secret backbone of media influence. Others swore Shannon wasn't just respected, he was protected. And then there were the boldest theorists who said the way Katt spoke didn't sound like speculation at all. It sounded like confirmation. The pauses, the smirk, the tiny shift in tone like he'd just spilled something that could rattle ceilings. Suddenly, every old clip of Shannon got reanalyzed like encrypted files. And fans insisted the truth had been sitting in plain sight. While the world slept. Now everyone wants to know one thing: what exactly did Katt Williams see behind Shannon Sharpe's smile? And why does it suddenly feel like the spotlight just cracked open a hidden empire? The instant Katt Williams tilted his head and spoke about Shannon Sharpe like the man wasn't just a media figure but an architect of invisible influence. The internet split into two camps, the stunned and the obsessed. Katt didn't scream, accuse, or preach. He did something worse. He spoke like someone casually bumping into classified knowledge. His tone was too calm, too collected, too heavy with implication. Fans swore they heard the cadence of a man who had receipts locked in a vault somewhere, and that subtlety alone was enough to send comment sections into meltdown mode. Speculation turned volcanic in minutes. People dragged up every clip of Shannon Sharpe they could find, replaying them like detectives rewatching interrogation footage. Suddenly, his confident posture on screen wasn't personality, it was dominance. His iconic sharpened tone wasn't debate, it was command. Someone tweeted that Shannon didn't talk on shows. He controlled the room. And that tweet snowballed until viewers treated his presence like a silent force shaping narratives from the host chair. Katt's insinuation became the lens everyone used to reread. Shannon's entire catalog of moments. Audiences started connecting dots that never needed connecting. The way Shannon spoke over guests became proof. The way celebrities tread lightly around him became confirmations. Even the jokes he delivered with a grin got repackaged as a man who knew his own leverage too well. People swore he had a kind of gravity that bent conversations around him. And once Katt planted the idea, internet analysts couldn't unsee it. Shannon wasn't commenting on culture, he was steering it. That was the story fans built, and it spiraled like wildfire. Katt only needed to say Shannon's name with that hushed weight to make people assume he'd brush shoulders with something powerful. Viewers acted like Katt had watched Sharpe pull invisible strings behind cameras, negotiating influence with the ease of a chess grandmaster. Suddenly, Shannon's connections weren't casual friendships anymore. They were networks. His media appearances weren't jobs. They were entry points. Even his respect among athletes turned into strategic alliances. Katt had hinted at hidden depth, and the crowd did the rest of the storytelling. Commentators, online dissected interviews where Shannon sat silently before responding, as if that pause held national secrets. When he shifted his glasses, people said it looked like a man choosing words carefully so he didn't reveal too much. When Katt described him as positioned, the fandom acted like that was the final key to decode the illusion. They swore Shannon moves like someone who understands his advantage in a system outsiders only guess at. Katt's sly tone turned ordinary charisma into whispered power. Rewatch threads exploded, claiming Shannon had always seemed untouchable. Notice how nobody comes at him too hard, some wrote. It's like they know better. People pointed out how celebrities of all kinds showed him respect on podcasts, treating him as more than just an interviewer. And from that, viewers built a narrative that Shannon was operating with weight behind him, the kind that makes people choose their words carefully. Katt never said that. He never needed to. He created the frame, and the internet painted the picture that fans began describing Shannon's rise as too smooth, as though professionalism wasn't enough explanation anymore. His success became evidence of connections. His polished brand turned into influence energy. The absurdity didn't matter. Suspicion is a powerful ingredient in modern entertainment, and Katt's comedic genius sat perfectly in the gap between honesty and theatrical phrasing. If he sounded like he held knowledge, people decided he did. If he let his smile linger, they swore he'd seen something worth keeping quiet about. Some even crafted theories that Shannon had a pulse on narratives before they trend. They clipped moments where he reacted early to cultural topics, claiming he was tipped off by unseen sources. A man doing commentary suddenly became the man with ears in the walls. Paranoia mixed with admiration until his media skill set morphed into mysterious influence. The fact that Shannon is simply confident, intelligent, and experienced didn't land nearly as well as the idea that Katt had exposed a bigger story lurking beneath his calm. Internet threads portrayed Katt as the rare voice unafraid to nudge the mask, calling him the court joker who reveals kings. Users posted fan art of Katt with spotlight graphics. Shannon in shadow, like the comedian opened a door the world wasn't supposed to peek through. They quoted Katt's smallest comments like encrypted syllables, reanalyzing tone shifts like linguists. When Katt says something with that surgical calm, fans react like they've been handed a key to a vault full of unspoken reality. Whether the vault exists or not, it got worse when people revisited Shannon's viral debates. They said he wasn't just arguing. He was asserting dominance without force. Disagreeing guests didn't talk back too hard. They kept their intensity controlled. Internet sleuths reinterpreted politeness as fear. They reposted clips where Shannon's stare stayed unbroken, labeling him the man who doesn't blink when he knows he's in power. Katt's tone triggered a mass reinterpretation of normal human confidence into quietly wielded authority. The culture loves to believe in unseen forces more than boring explanations. Katt's voice triggered imaginations that would rather build conspiracy webs than accept that Shannon might just be talented and respected. Talent feels too mundane. Influence feels cinematic. And social media thrives on cinematic. So people began treating Shannon's success like a secret club membership, something won behind doors the public never gets to touch. The deeper the theory went, the more entertaining the narrative became. Shannon's sports background became storyline fuel too. Fans referenced how athletes, insiders, and executives treat him with careful respect, even admiration. To most people, that signals credibility. To rumor culture, it means he knows something. Katt didn't start the idea, he just cracked the matchbook. His smirk and slow phrasing during that moment became the gasoline. Have you ever noticed how powerful suggestion becomes when the speaker doesn't raise their voice? Bold claims are loud. Dangerous truths are whispered. And Katt whispered. Creators on TikTok stitched his commentary with intense captions like, "This changes everything." The edits turned Katt's calm analysis into cinematic suspense. Dramatic music, grainy filters, freeze frames. Suddenly it wasn't comedy, it was revelation. And people ate it up. A culture addicted to sudden hidden truth wanted this story desperately. They decided Shannon Sharpe wasn't just influential. He was influential in a way that made them uncomfortable not understanding how. That discomfort became curiosity. Curiosity became narrative, narrative became lore. Soon, people weren't asking if Katt was right. They were asking how deep Shannon's reach goes, how much he knows, who he talks to, and what decisions he influences from the sidelines. Katt never accused, never exposed, never detailed a thing. But his tone broke algorithm logic. Fans filled all the empty spaces with their own imaginations. And from those imaginations grew a storyline grander than anything Shannon or Katt ever said publicly. In a world built on suspicion, Katt's commentary shaped Shannon Sharpe into something more enigmatic, more commanding, more layered than the world expected. The internet didn't need a real expose. It needed a spark. Katt lit it. And everything Shannon ever said or did got pulled under a magnifying lens the size of an arena. Suddenly, the quiet confidence of a sports analyst looked like the subtle posture of a man who holds cards nobody else gets to see. Because rumor culture never wants clarity, it wants legend. And after one tone-shifted moment from Katt Williams, Shannon Sharpe stopped being a broadcaster and became a myth. Once Katt dropped that subtle bomb, the internet didn't just run with it, it sprinted like a crowd chasing a golden ticket. Suddenly, Shannon Sharpe wasn't just a sports commentator with a deep voice and undefeated meme moments. He became the guy people were convinced held invisible keys to cultural influence. Invisible keys to cultural influence. Users whispered that he didn't just interview celebrities, he selected which narratives got airtime. Katt's tone had turned Shannon into the silent puppeteer of trending conversations. And the fandom treated it like the greatest plot twist nobody saw coming. Comment threads filled with people swearing. They always felt something about Shannon's presence. They pointed at how carefully A-listers speak around him and acted like the politeness was fear rather than respect. Clips of rappers going philosophical in a show were suddenly framed as men trying to impress a gatekeeper rather than two grown adults talking. Katt hadn't given the internet information, he'd given them atmosphere. And they inhaled it until every detail Shannon ever touched looked like something deeper. That's when the celebrity reactions started bubbling in. A musician posted a vague tweet saying, "Some folks got higher seats at the table than you think." No name, no context, but the timeline shoved Shannon's name onto it like glue. An actress said, "Power is never loud," and fans quoted it under old footage of Shannon sipping a cigar with Gentlemen's Club confidence. TikTok creators stitched the posts together, narrating like historians uncovering secret dynasties. Even though none of the public figures mentioned Katt, Shannon, or anything remotely close, the rumor ecosystem decided the pieces fit. People started digging into Shannon's career like it was a classified archive. His transition from athlete to respected cultural commentator suddenly looked too smooth to be coincidence. They said his rise wasn't luck, it was strategic placement. His appearances on panel shows became proof he was trusted by decision makers. Katt's comment had turned every moment of Shannon's evolution into suspicious perfection. People acted like he must have been chosen by invisible hands rather than working, evolving and building a reputation over time. Even memes got darkly theatrical. One viral edit showed Shannon sitting calmly while chess pieces moved behind him like he was orchestrating media power plays. Someone cut his voice into a deep echo narrator track that played over clips of celebrities praising him, labeling those compliments as loyalty pledges. The line between humor and conspiracy blended into vapor. Memes that should have been jokes started sounding like documentaries because Katt's tone had set the stage. People didn't want comedy anymore. They wanted mystery with a dash of fear. Influencers who normally roasted culture now spoke like analysts reviewing secret files. They said Shannon operates with a level of awareness most people don't have access to. They claimed he didn't just interview people, he psychologically scanned them. Anything that made him look intelligent or thoughtful got twisted into strategic intimidation. The power they imagined wasn't physical. It was silent influence disguised as charisma. And because Katt hinted at secrets instead of spilling them, the audience filled every empty space with drama and awe. Podcast watchers began saying Shannon seemed untouchable. They pointed to moments where guests backed down from heated debates as proof. In reality, those guests simply respected him. But suspicion never likes simple answers. Fans said Shannon's presence alone acted like an off-camera warning. His confidence on the mic became evidence of a man who knew exactly where he stood in a hierarchy nobody else could see. The word authority started following his name everywhere. A title he never asked for, gifted to him by imaginations running wild. Katt single quotes as commentary only continued to age like red wine in the rumor vault. Everything Shannon did afterward got thrown into the same pot. If he spoke passionately about cultural issues, people said he was flexing his influence. If he stayed neutral, they swore he was protecting his position. If he criticized a celebrity, they insisted he was sending a message from a higher seat. And when celebrities laughed a little too hard at his jokes, fans took it as submission to his aura rather than genuine humor. Interpretation became gospel. Soon, people started listing possible layers to Shannon's reach: sports, media, podcast culture, celebrity circles, political commentary. They stacked these categories like evidence boards from detective dramas. When Katt said Shannon's power wasn't loud, the crowd turned it into prophecy. "The strongest forces don't brag," posts declared. Users started calling Shannon the Quiet Titan. Someone even tweeted that if he ever revealed what he knows, a lot of people would unplug their mics for good. It was pure fiction, but told with such intensity that readers believed it. Pop culture comparisons rolled in fast. Some called Shannon the Thanos of commentary because he never raises his voice to get control. Others compared him to mafia movie dons who run entire empires from leather chairs with 2 sentences and an eyebrow lift. One creator edited scenes from The Godfather under Shannon's clips, and the internet treated it like a revelation. Suddenly, the image of him leaning back with a cigar wasn't laid-back athletic swagger. It became visual symbolism of quiet power. All because Katt bent his voice just enough to sound like he peeked behind a curtain. And the reaction to Katt himself transformed just as dramatically. He went from comedian to whistleblower in the court of public perception. Meme pages called him the jester who tells forbidden's truth. Fan pages posted quotes like, "Katt has always been ahead of his time." They acted like he'd been warning people about the machinery behind entertainment for years, and Shannon was just the latest chapter. People placed Katt on a pedestal and acted like every sarcastic observation he's ever made was actually coded intelligence they missed. The deeper the narrative stretched, the more impossible it became to pull it back. Speculation built skyscrapers where facts built small huts. Fans didn't want to hear that Shannon earned his respect through talent and longevity. Boring. They wanted to believe. Katt warned them of something bigger. Something untouchable, something dangerous even if undefined. His tone stitched a storyline that convinced viewers that Shannon Sharpe wasn't a commentator, he was a force. And once belief sticks, it doesn't need confirmation. Within weeks, the rumor mutated into unshakable myth. Katt never gave details. Shannon never responded. And silence was treated like validation. Nothing feeds suspicion like the lack of denial. Fans swore the moment either man addressed it publicly, the facade would fall. But no statement came. No clarification. Just prolonged quiet, and that quiet felt louder than explanation ever could. Because once Katt Williams makes you question who Shannon Sharpe really is, you can't unquestion it. And the public decided they didn't need truth. The story was thrilling enough on its own. When the frenzy finally cooled from volcanic eruption to a low rumble, the damage had already been done, because once a rumor transforms into a cultural myth, it stops needing fuel. Katt's tone had tattooed Shannon Sharpe's image with mystery ink. Even after the noise faded from headlines, people didn't unhear what Katt had insinuated. They carried that suspicion like a quiet filter over every clip, every interview, every quote Shannon delivered afterward. From that point on, he wasn't viewed as just a respected voice. He was the man the internet believed might be holding cards nobody else was allowed to see. Every time, Shannon spoke passionately about accountability, justice, or celebrity responsibility. Commentators popped up to whisper that he sounded like someone who knew the limits of what could be said. If he chose his words slowly, they swore it looked like careful management. If he snapped back in a debate, fans said it proved the power Katt hinted at. His tone became the subject of opinion far more than his analysis. People weren't listening to what he said, they were listening for what they thought he was hiding. A myth can reshape humanity itself, and Shannon learned that the hard way. Even neutral spectators started reading him differently. Instead of seeing a blunt thinker with strong opinions, they saw a strategist calculating impact. Viewers interpreted politeness as leverage, respect as loyalty. Every ally at his table became evidence of networks. Every industry friend transformed into speculation about influence. His success now carried a faint ache of suspicion simply because Katt Williams once spoke about him with that eerie softness, like describing a man whose reach was larger than his image. Katt didn't expose Shannon. He rewired him in the audience's imagination. Supporters argued that the entire situation was blown out of proportion, that Katt's comments had been sarcasm or playful shade delivered in the rhythm of comedy. But reason rarely wins against thrill. Suspicion offers emotional fireworks. Sarcasm can sound like confession if people want the drama badly enough. Those who admired Shannon fought to remind others that a career built on discipline and longevity didn't require secret gears. But their arguments drowned under threads that preferred the narrative of hidden influence over the boring truth of earned reputation. Critics of Shannon doubled down, pointing to old interviews like sacred text. They rewound clips for microscopic hints of authority. And even though nothing incriminating ever appeared, they convinced themselves they saw reflections of power just because Katt's tone had trained them to. Once suggestion infects perception, bias does all the heavy lifting. Katt triggered a chain reaction that outgrew the original moment, transforming into something larger, darker, and almost immortal. Katt himself gained new layers of mystique. People began to treat him like the lone truth-teller in a room full of polite secrets. It didn't matter that he never listed a detail, accusation, or revelation. His silence afterward amplified everything. Audiences said he didn't clarify because he didn't need to. They said the truth was dangerous, so he just placed it in the air and let everyone else suffer with curiosity. The narrative crowned him philosopher, codebreaker, provocateur, all because he phrased a thought like someone who'd peeked behind a curtain. Comedy became prophecy in the eyes of believers. Shannon, meanwhile, became a symbol. Not of scandal, but of the terrifying ease with which a whisper can alter legacy. His accomplishments didn't shrink, but the way people discussed them changed. The internet now told his story with an eyebrow raised, as though the version fans saw on camera was just the surface layer. Every time Shannon showed composure in tense discussions, people read it as the poise of someone who understood his influence too deeply to ever lose it. They didn't see stability. They saw power mapped like a grid behind his every word. Some fans started treating Shannon with more reverence than ever, convinced Katt had simply confirmed what intuition already knew, that Shannon Sharpe moves differently, that he commands a room without lifting a finger, that nobody ever challenges him too hard because they recognize the depth of his influence. These supporters didn't think Katt created a myth. They believed he accidentally cracked open the truth. To them, Shannon wasn't just respected, he was strategically positioned in a way that made people instinctively measure their tone around him. Others insisted the entire saga revealed the internet's obsession with turning successful people into enigmas. They argued that society prefers conspiracy over competence, that we're addicted to the idea of secret hierarchies rather than facing the truth that some people simply work harder, learn faster, and rise naturally. But even those voices had trouble erasing the memory of Katt's phrasing. Because once an idea tastes like forbidden knowledge, it becomes magnetic. And humans are wired to chase the invisible more than the obvious. The long-term impact wasn't a scandal or an expose, it was suspicion baked into perception. Shannon Sharpe continued his work, built new platforms, interviewed more icons, and spoke just as boldly as he always had. Yet the rumor lived like a shadow under each moment of presence. People didn't vocalize it anymore, but they remembered it. A quiet hum in the background reminding them that something about Shannon feels bigger than what's shown. Katt's delivery had rewritten context. And context is almost impossible to reset once the world internalizes it. Months after the frenzy, someone would occasionally tweet, "Katt knew something about Shannon," or "I can't unhear the way he said it." No detail, no claim, just the memory of tone. And those small reminders kept the ember alive. Because myths don't disappear, they go dormant, waiting for another moment to flare. And if Shannon ever did anything surprising or impressive, someone somewhere revived the rumor with a smirk. Makes sense. Katt tried to warn us. In the end, Shannon Sharpe walked through the aftermath with his career intact, but with a narrative he never asked for pinned silently to his name. Katt Williams remained the man who once whispered like he'd cracked a locked file. And fans remained the artists who painted entire worlds from nothing more than cadence and imagination. No scandal needed to unfold. No secret needed to exist. The idea alone did the damage, because the real story wasn't about Shannon's power. It was about ours, the power to take a tiny spark of implication and turn it into legacy. Katt spoke with the tone of someone who'd seen something. And the internet chose to believe he had, not because it was proven, but because belief was thrilling. And that was enough. And there you have it, the whisper that turned into wildfire. The tone that rewired perception, the moment Katt Williams casually tugged a thread and the internet spun it into a legend. Shannon Sharpe didn't change. The lens did. All because one comedian spoke like he peeked behind a curtain and the world jumped to fill in the blanks. If that doesn't prove how easily a story can form out of suggestion, nothing ever will. Katt didn't reveal anything. He revealed us, our hunger for mystery, our addiction to unseen forces, and our love for believing there's always a deeper layer waiting to be uncovered. Before you scroll away to dissect clips, overanalyze pauses, or argue whether the myth still lives under Shannon's shadow, hit that like button like it tried to mute your mic. Slam subscribe with the force of a trending scandal and crack the notification bell like it owes you rent. Drop your hottest take below. Did Katt really hint at something hidden? Or did the audience just turn charisma into conspiracy because mystery tastes better than truth? And most importantly, can a man ever shake off a narrative once the internet decides he owns it? Here on Trend Tattle, we don't just cover stories. We ignite them. We break down tone, silence, and side-eye like they're hidden manuscripts. We narrate the whispers the world pretends not to hear. Because rumors never die, they hibernate, waiting for the next spark. Today was Katt and Shannon. Tomorrow, someone else's tone will flip perception upside down, so stay alert. Stay curious. Stay dramatic. Because on Trend Tattle, secrets don't sleep. Secrets don't sleep.